Assalamu alaikum everybody. Welcome to the Imperial Unlocked Life Sciences webinar. Now, many of you will be new to STEM Muslims. Now, STEM Muslims is a society at Imperial aimed at increasing Muslim participation in STEM degrees and STEM careers. We're dedicated to fostering and empowering Muslim students to pursue STEM degrees and careers. And this is one of our outreach events. In addition to this, we also run a mentorship scheme in around September, October time. As many of you are in year 12 right now, you'll be in year 13 by then. So, inshallah, apply to that, and you may be mentored by a student here. Now, from today, we'll be having 4 panelists. First is Wajiha for Biochemistry, Demi for Biomedical Sciences, Zaynah for Biology, and Nick for Biomedical Engineering. Now I'll be passing it off to Wajiha for Biochemistry.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Wajiha and I'm a second year biochemistry student. Next slide, please. So the application process, I would say, is relatively easier than many other courses. And this is because there's no admissions test and there's no interview, but this would mean that they'd be looking at your predicted grades as well as your personal statement and your references. So in my personal statement, I was told to show my interest. So I mentioned some books that are related to biochemistry, like the ones I have on the screen. And yeah, there's also contextual offers available, and the minimum that they can give is 3 A's. Next slide, please. So first year, there's 4 core modules: biological chemistry, cell biology, enzymes metabolism, and molecular biology. And then you would also be learning how to code using R, which is a programming thing. And then you'd also be doing a short maths module. Your grade would be carried by your exams as well as coursework. So this would be nice because your coursework could potentially carry your grade. Next slide, please. So I thought I'd just show like a compilation of photos taken in first year to try and show you guys what we might do. So first, this is us in a problem class, and this is something that they might do so that they can show some questions that you might do in the exams. This is us in labs. Labs can take a few hours. It could also span over a couple of days. Next, please. This is a poster I made in the summer term, so they do tend to make you do some extra things. This one didn't actually count towards my grade, but because a lot of people that do biochemistry do go into research, they attempt to prepare you for some things that you might do if you went into academia, like making posters and presenting them. This is just something that you might do in the lab. So gel electrophoresis is one of the many methods that you might do. So I thought I might as well just show one. Here, I think this is supposed to be when we try to make crystals, but again, another method that you might use and then view under the microscope. Next, please. This is Python, which they would teach you how to use in first year and that you'd continue using throughout your degree. And it's a molecular graphics program, which allows you to see the structure of the molecules and interactions and stuff. Next. So this is one of my results from something that we did in the summer term of first year. So we took our own DNA and we tested where our DNA kind of originates from. My one actually went wrong because it says that I'm like majority European, which I'm not, I'm South Asian. But that's also a good example of how your labs might not go your way, but that's completely fine. Next, please. Second year, as you can see, there's a lot more work that you would be doing. I would say the like core modules would be structural biology, genes and genomics, protein science, and um, integrative cell biology. But you'd also be doing iExplore. iExplore is something that Imperial wants you to do to kind of broaden your studies. And it can range from so many different subjects that's not related to your degree. So, for example, I did climate change. You'd also be picking up the R programming again in bioinformatics, statistics, and programming. They would also teach you how to use Python, and you'd also be doing a lot of bioinformatics. And then tutor dissertation is something that you would do in the spring term, and you would pick the topic. And then in summer term, you have your optional modules. So these you would pick in the first term, and then they should get back to you by the spring term. And yeah. This is third year. This is probably looks really overwhelming, but I'll try to break it down. So you'd be doing three modules, one from each of the groups A, B, and C. And I assume that this is because they want you to kind of personalize your degree a bit more to make it cater towards you. So, for example, if you were really interested in stem cells, you'd pick the stem cells regeneration and aging topic in group A. This is probably also very useful if you want to go into research and study a particular topic because you can cater the degree to you and what you want to study. And then you'd also be picking a research project from Group D, so either the practical research project or the literature research project. And your grade would be carried by your exams by 56% and coursework by 44%. So uniqueness about the course, I feel like there are so many transferable skills. For example, like I said, you'd be learning a lot of coding. You'd know how to work with sets of data and how to interpret them, as well as, of course, all of the science knowledge that you'd pick up. So a lot of people do go into various jobs. I know I mentioned research a lot, but a lot of people also go into data analysis, consulting, and finance. It's a really broad subject area. There were times when we were learning some aspects of physics and chemistry, and they also had us pick up some maths things as well. And range of assessment methods. This was really nice for me because sometimes exams won't go your way and they won't be able to showcase the knowledge that you have. So you'd have your coursework, which can, if that goes really well, then that can really help carry your grade. They help a lot to prepare for the future. Like with the poster, they try and introduce these things to you so that you can be used to it and you would be better prepared for it. And Imperial also offers the management year, so you can either not do third year and do a management year at the business school, or you can do it as a fourth year option if you want to stay for the fourth year. And yeah, that's everything.
Thank you, Wajiha. We'll be passing it over to Demi for medical biosciences.
Assalamualaikum guys. I'm Demi. I'm a second year medical bioscience student. Medical biosciences is a very research intensive course and it's a lab focused course as well. It's 3 years, standard 3 years, but it could also be 4 years if you do an additional year studying management in the business school at Imperial. And we're under the School of Medicine, but we don't have lectures with the medical students because this course is not like made to like it's made for you to become a researcher. So we don't have a lot of things that we do that are similar to the med school, basically. So for the application process, there's no interview for this course and no entry exam either. And you don't have to submit your application early. The deadline is in January. And you would basically require 3 A's as the minimum entry requirement. And you would then write a personal statement and get your reference. And in your personal statement, they would want you to show like dedication to research, because like I said, it is a research focused course. So for example, if you're doing EPQ and like you research a topic, you could talk about that in your personal statement. I personally talked about a brilliant club where I participated in tutorials and then wrote an essay in the end, which got marked by a PhD student. So you could basically just show like that you're interested in the research field in your application. You need an A in biology or human biology, and you can your second A could be in chemistry, maths, physics, or further maths, and then your third A can be in any other subject. But if you've done maths or further maths already, then the third subject has to be a non-math subject. They don't accept general studies or critical thinking, and you have to pass the practical endorsement at A level as well. And they have a widening participation thing where basically if you meet the minimum requirements and you show a lot of motivation to study the course, they will take your other circumstances into consideration and you would basically be guaranteed an offer. Next slide, please. So, like I said, this is a lab-focused course. So in first year and second year, you will have one day in the week where you're in lab from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And outside of the lab days, you will have the modules that you're doing. So in year one, you don't have any optional modules. They're all core modules. And for year one, the core modules are chemistry of biological interactions, molecular and cellular biology, statistics with R, integrative body systems, lab pod 1. You could do horizons, but that's not compulsory in year one. For the modules, you usually have 3 hours for each module during the week, and each module will have a separate day. So for example, you could have molecular and cellular biology on a Tuesday for 3 hours. And that's because our course doesn't have traditional lectures. They use flipped learning, basically, which means that you'll be in a group of 5 to 6 people. They will give you the content of that day beforehand, and you basically need to do it before the lesson. And then during the session, you're basically applying what you learnt in the e-module content through application questions that you work out with your team, and you talk through it with the whole class during the sessions as well. So I guess this is a good learning method for people who don't like who are just talking at them, because it's more of an active learning approach. And you will have you could have team meetings with your lab mates and mini tutorials for lab topics as well, spread throughout the year basically. And you'd be working on your lab project throughout the year as well. So in year one, lab project, for example, in year one, I investigated the effects of a vaping flavoring on a cellular pathway, and we used techniques like Western blot, cell viability assay, and qPCR, which you might have heard of before. And then in second year, you do a completely different project, but it's more independent compared to year one, because now they expect you to have developed more lab skills, basically. And the second year project I'm doing is involving CRISPR-Cas9 and cancer cells, but the projects are not usually the same, so it might be different for when if you take this course later, basically, and the techniques also change. So the department will decide what techniques you're doing and what you would basically be investigating in year one and year two. But in year three, you're going to start year three with a placement. So you can either do a work-based placement, a lab-based placement, or a literature review. And the lab-based placement is 20 weeks, whereas work-based placement and literature review would be 14 weeks. And the lab-based placements would be at Imperial, because Imperial has a lot of research facilities. So you'd be working with a research group at Imperial. And the work-based placements are non-Imperial companies, basically. It could be in a lab like AstraZeneca, but the non-lab-based work placements as well. And then literature review, you're just reviewing literature, basically. So at the end of year two, you'll be given the chance to choose what placements you want to apply for. And you would put down 15 options. And in order of, you would basically rank it in order of what you want to do most to least. And then you basically find out, I think, by the end of year two, and then you start the placement at the start of year three. Then after your placement is over, you have short courses that you basically choose yourself as well. So for example, it could be biomedicine, data science, biology of aging, translational medicine, nanobiology and biomaterials, public engagement. So there's loads of options in year three as well. And then in year two, you also have optional modules like pharmacology and toxicology, microbiome and health and disease. Genetics and genomics is a core module. And then you could choose immunology and inflammation, cardiovascular and thoracic biology. So you do have the options from year 2 and year 3 to choose more modules that are specific to the topic that you want to do. Next slide, please. So this course is really good because it gives you a lot of practical experience for what if you want to go into research. It could be academic research or industrial research, and it also has a lot of transferable skills for if you don't want to stay in the lab and you want to work in other things. So a lot of people on our course do end up going into non-lab focused work like regulatory affairs, medical affairs. We have many people going into life science consulting, and the data science, bioinformatics. So you don't have to stay in the lab if you don't want to at the end of the course. And then these pictures are examples of like some of the experiments that we have performed. On the left side of the image, and then in the middle you have a 96 well plate for cell viability assay. You have a results for an agarose gel electrophoresis, a plate with bacterial culturing. Then you have a picture of the cells that we work with throughout the year because you would perform tissue culture throughout your lab project because you basically take care of the cells you're working with. And then that's just the lab environment. And our course does offer a Masters in Research Scholarship. It's funded by AstraZeneca, and it's specific to people who are taking medical biosciences. Only one person gets it, but they do offer, anyone can apply for it that is studying medical biosciences, and you'd basically choose any masters in the Faculty of Medicine, and it would basically get funded by AstraZeneca. So that's a good opportunity that they offer for BMB students as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Demi, for that. Now, everybody, we're about halfway through now. Feel free to drop questions in the chat. And I'll be passing it over to Zaynah for biology.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. So my name's Zaynah and I'm a second year ecology and environmental biology student. So similar to the other courses, there's no admission test and there's no interview, and the entry requirements are AAA, and you have to do biology. You can pick either chemistry, physics and maths, and then you can pick any other third subject. So your application is mainly based on your grades, a personal statement, and your reference. Next slide. So your personal statement is really, really important. So I just wanted to run through the kind of things you should include in it. So you could do a nice opening line on where your interest began, whether it was like a speaker that came or a certain practical you did. And then the next paragraph should be how your A levels have confirmed your interest, like certain topics you liked and what you did about it. So someone mentioned before that they did an essay and they got it marked by a PhD student. You can do things like that to show to your teacher that you're really enthusiastic and you're really interested in this subject. The third paragraph should be all your wider learning stuff. So here's a book that I read, but you can also do online courses. But again, you can't just say that you did them, you need to say what you learned from them. So you gain knowledge on certain things like waste. I did a course on waste management in China, and you can learn about like environmental policies, for example. The fourth paragraph should be everything except academics. So how you're an active member in your community, like helping out in open evenings and charity fundraisers and all these things. You can join like competitions. I did a unsung heroes competition with Hertford College, I think it's called, and it was about just I talked about like lack of women in STEM. But you just need to show that you're enthusiastic, basically, and what you learn at every single point. You can't just throw names and drop names and stuff. And then the last line could be a nice sentence saying why you're excited. Like, I'm anticipating expanding my knowledge in the biosphere to take action against climate change. So they'll finish your statement. You'll finish reading your statement with a nice line. Yeah. Next slide. So first year is kind of they're trying to set the foundations for the rest of the degree because it is very flexible, especially biological sciences. You have full range of all the optional modules, but you can pick specific streams. So I'm on the ecology and environmental biology stream, so I can only do the specific ecology modules, but everyone whether they're microbiology, biological science, or ecology, they have to do these core modules. So biochemistry and microbiology, you're learning about enzymes, biomolecules, like lipids and all that stuff. In evolution and diversity, you're learning about phylogenies and like classification. Cell biology is the normal gene expression, DNA replication stuff. And then ecology and evolution, you're learning about ecosystems, still some like environmental policies and conservation. There's also coursework part of this. You can see how the year is divided into how the year is split up into coursework and examinations. So very examination based. We still have quite a lot of coursework, and this is done in, you have like team learning, which are not worth very much, but you do a test all together in a group. You have coding, so you have some research papers you have to use R. You have you have lots of labs as well, roughly 5 labs. In biochemistry and microbiology, you have 5 labs, and cell biology and genetics, you have a few labs as well. But the other ones, you have field work. So ecology and evolution, you go to the Silwood Park campus and you're able to utilize the different kind of lands they have. So they have farmlands, they have marshes, and these things, and you can investigate the biodiversity in those separate areas. So it's basically, these are the foundations, and you start specializing your degree to your interest across the next years. Next slide. So these are just some pictures. I was just worried that people who might hear about Imperial and they're worried that they don't have a social life, because the degree is very demanding, but you are able to balance all of it, and they give you opportunities. They know there's lots of international students, so they kind of integrate exploring the area, especially in first year. You're meant to go to the museums, you're meant to explore South Kensington a lot and lots of areas in London, like investigating biodiversity in different parks and stuff. They want you to go out and have fun and chat to everyone on your course. So I just wanted to reassure you there, reassure anyone there. Yeah, next slide. So in second year, you still have your core modules that everyone does, so microbiology and ecology and biological sciences. So applied molecular biology, you're exploring genetic engineering and biotechnology. You're kind of learning all these techniques, lots of presentations. Second year, there's a lot more coursework, and the deadlines are very close together. So you kind of have to strengthen your time management skills. Bioinformatics, statistics, and programming. This is lots of computer skills. Yeah, the thing about Imperial is a lot of computing is involved in here. And I think that's what differentiates it from biology courses at other unis. So you're able to develop these skills here, so you're ready for in the workplace when you have to utilize them. You're also able to do an iExplore module, like people mentioned before, and that kind of be like a break. You can go into whatever you want to. So for example, I'm doing creative writing, so it doesn't have to be related to your degree at all. And then you're able to pick one from each group here. So biological sciences, you have access to all these options. You can pick any of them. Ecology, you only have access to the ecology ones. And then microbiology, again, you're limited in terms of your options. Okay, next one. So then in third year, you have full flexibility to tailor your degree. And you choose one from each of the group again. And then you have group D as well. So this is, you can pick a research project, or you can do a science communication based project where you basically develop a research proposal. Next slide. So uniqueness at Imperial, I mentioned it before, but the combination of hands-on experience and flexibility to specialize, from day one, you're doing labs, you're coding, you're doing field work and data analysis, you're developing these skills even when it's not completely assessed. So some of the computing stuff wasn't assessed in first year, but you still had to learn it just to practice. So it's basically to prepare you for real world biological research. Again, you can specialize into biological sciences. If you're unsure, probably go with that, because then you can pick anything, but you can also specifically choose molecular biology, microbiology, and ecology. And then graduates commonly go into biotech, pharmacology, pharmaceuticals, ecology and science policy, or you can go into research as well, postgraduate research. But yeah.
Thank you, Zaynah, for that. Now we'll be having our final presenter, Nick, for bioengineering.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nick. I'm a third year Biomedical Engineering student. I think just before I start, it's good to just kind of put it out there that bioengineering is very much more an engineering course rather than a life sciences course, but there are some overlap, and I'll talk about it now. So just an overview of the application process. There is an interview, sadly. It's split into two components. There's a team exercise component, and another one is a one-to-one personal interview with one of the researchers and lecturers in the Department of Bioengineering. There's not a entrance exam. There's no entrance exam, unlike any other engineering course at Imperial. But the entry requirements, I think this year, the minimum is A star AA with an A star in maths for BME or Biomedical Engineering. And then you need the A in physics and another science. For MBE, you need chemistry and maths. So you need maths A star and then chemistry and A. Next one. Next slide, please. All right. The course is, the Department of Bioengineering is split into two. There's two courses, Biomedical Engineering, which is what I do, and Molecular Bioengineering, MBE. I don't want to bore you with the details of the module, but BME is basically more physics, but MBE is more chemistry. So the stuff that we do as BMEs or as biomedical engineers is more mathsy, more mechanical, more machines, hands, and like hands-on learning. So you learn a whole range of modules across the 4-year Masters in Engineering program. And then for BME specifically, there's more dry labs, which is like you work with resistors, capacitors, wires. But for the BME, for the MBE, sorry, that's a typo. But for the MBE course, it's more wet labs. So you work with some biological specimens and whatnot, and with goggles and with a lab coat on. So there is a design project each year, which you do. It's called DAPP, or Design in Professional Practice. In first year, for example, we were tasked to design a bioengineering inspired keychain for whatever reason. So then you would work in a group and then come up with a design and then come up with a report for that design. In second year, which I'll go in afterwards, but in second year, we had another design project, which they give you a title and then they give you a supervisor. And then after that, they just let you do whatever you want, which is what I like. And then after that, each year there's going to be a design project. So if design is is one of your strengths, then I would highly recommend checking out our course. There are exams, of course. In first year and second year, it's I think it's 70% exams and then 30% coursework. So it's a bit different from the other courses that we've had today. Bioengineering really puts a lot more emphasis on exams. So if you're worried about that, consider another course. The workload does vary each year, but in first year, they try to get everyone on the same page. So they start off with very basic stuff. So basic mathematics, calculus, and then basic mechanics and statistics. Sorry, mechanics and like solid mechanics and fluid mechanics. And then they do a bit of chemistry. I didn't do chemistry. I did biology, maths, and I did biology, maths, and physics. So they try to get everyone up to the same level in first year. And then second year, it gets a bit harder. So you get a bit more into the grid and knit. You do more solid mechanics and fluid mechanics. You do a bit of signals, controls. So a lot more engineering side. But there's also, each year, we also have the biology side, which is basically what medics learn in first year. So we have in first and second year, we've got modules named medical sciences and biological sciences. So, you learn basically what A-level biology teaches you, but a bit more detail. And then, workload varies each year. For me, first year wasn't that bad, but I played a lot in first year, so I didn't do that well. Second year, the workload gets very hard, but if you manage it well, then the rewards are better for you, inshallah. And then third year, it is a bit easier than second year, but you've got to be on top of your time management game. So yeah, next slide, please. Just to touch upon the uniqueness of the course, bioengineering, you never think those words could work together. But I like to say every time to anyone asking me, like, Nick, what is bioengineering? I just tell them, it's a jack of all trades course, because just looking at the two words, bio and engineering, they don't seem to work together. But when you think about it, like, for example, if I cut my hand off for whatever reason, right? And then I want to make a hand that's very similar to what I had before, but now I have tools of engineering with me, so I can engineer something to basically help me make a better hand for whatever reason. Maybe you could add, like, I don't know, octopus suckers on your hands to make it better. I don't know. But bioengineering is basically you're taking engineering principles and applying it to biological systems. It's very, very wide. It has very, very wide range of applications, from prosthetics to MRI machines to bioinformatics. There's everything under the sun that you can do with bioengineering. And because you work in the intersection of medicine and technology, it is a much more interesting and vast subject than conventional engineering subjects. So, for example, if you just do mechanical engineering, you'd only do mechanical engineering. So you'd only work on beams and solid stuff and like fluid mechanics. Like, okay, that's cool, but you can never learn biology, which I was kind of bummed out because I love biology. Say, for example, if you do chemical engineering, right? All my friends right now who are doing chemical engineering are all talking about power plants and like gas and oil. Like, okay, that's cool and all, but like I want to work with humans, and I want to help humans, and I want to help people. It's not just that you want to help people, but if you're scared of blood, for example, right? If you wanted to become a doctor, but for whatever reason you're scared of blood, like I am, you can become a biomedical engineer and make machines to help those people. And then I just put the last point for fun because in a lot of engineering subjects, it's much more male dominated, but this course, thankfully, is 50-50 gender split, so you won't have to worry about male dominance in whatever, for whatever reason. Okay, next one. Okay, just some pictures. I think this is from first and second year. So just like the people before, we did have some wet lab exposure in first year. That was me looking down into some E. coli cells, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, you do have a bit of lab skills, like wet lab skills exposure in first year. But obviously, if you don't choose to go into that route, then you won't have to. And then in the third picture on the right is me in a dry lab testing some. I think there was some solid plate of metal. We were trying to figure out whether it would break or not. And actually, after that picture, I think it broke. Anyways, but it's fun, you work in a dry lab, and then I think just working with stuff hands-on is a lot more enriching to your experience. I think there's more pictures on the next slide. Right. Okay. You also work a lot in electrical engineering labs. So the first picture, we were testing some circuit boxes with some oscilloscopes. I don't know if you've worked with oscilloscope before, because I mean you've come from a diverse range of subjects. But we were working with signal generators and oscilloscopes. Learning about components, learning about passive components with problem-based learning, which I really, really enjoyed. The second one was a model of something that we were going to make better. I think I just like to put it. It's a robot hand that you can learn yourself with the help of the lectures and materials that Imperial put out. The third one is what you call a breadboard, and then there's some wires there, some crocodile clips. If you really enjoy working in the lab and want to try something new, Working with electronics is a fun, always a fun thing. You don't know whether it's going to work. Sometimes it is frustrating, but it is really fun. Like you can now know how a microphone works based on the things that you do in the lab, which I find really cool. Like I'm talking to you through a microphone, and then when you know how that stuff works, it's just like, oh, it's cool. Okay, next one. Okay, that's a video put out, but this was our second year design project. It was the name of the project was modular aiming trigger system, and how we interpreted it was we made a modular arm to help people with disabilities draw with their eyes. So actually, the movement of the robot you saw there was controlled by someone's eyes, and then I was in charge of the design of the arm, and then the 3D printing as well. So I was in the lab, just like making designs with my computer, printing everything from scratch. It's really fun because I was never exposed to 3D printing when I was a young child. So when you're in uni, you can just like when you learn to design stuff and you learn to 3D print stuff, it's so cool that you can just like print stuff, and then when it works, you're like, oh my god, this is so cool, you know. I mean, obviously, it's a difficult challenge, and it's hard, but it's really rewarding at the end. That's what I like about this course. Working in this intersection of medicine and technology opens your eyes to a broader horizon of problems, basically. And if you want to solve problems for humankind, but you're scared of blood for whatever reason, then this is a very good course to consider. The next one, I think that's all. Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Okay, thank you to all of our presenters. Now we'll be moving on to the Q&A. Now, in case any of you would like to contact any of the presenters, if you have any more questions later on, we have some of their contact details here. I'm going to leave the slide up for a few minutes whilst we go through the Q&A. Now, our first question to our presenters here: how is the daily schedule as a Muslim being in Imperial, and how it affects you and the environment apart from academics? Also, how to do well in academics as a Muslim, i.e. any routines, etc.
I think
No,
I
you
think
first.
for my course, I find it quite good in terms of balancing stuff, because basically, because we don't have like we usually don't have full day lectures throughout the week. I find it like quite easy to be able to like do all my prayers on time, and like when prayers do fall during like lecture time or module time, I usually just step out to go pray in like an empty classroom or something. During labs, we get breaks during labs, so sometimes the break would fall during a prayer time for me, but apart from that, I would just tell my teammates and be like, oh, I need to go pray. Or like if we're not too busy, I'll just be like, I'm gonna quickly go pray. Give me like 5-10 minutes, and then I'll just like head off to pray. So I think I'm finding the balance quite good so far with my course. With regards to studying, I think it's also been okay as well. I think it's just basically having a good like organized schedule, kind of, because sometimes it gets a bit, because you're the one, you basically decide when you're gonna study. It's like, and you're basically more independent. So you just like they give, for example, you have an assessment that's due in 2 weeks. You obviously need to plan your time in a way where you're not rushing it in the end. So you basically spread out your time well enough so your assessments are not clashing, and like your coursework is not clashing either. And because you need to do e-modules for my course as well, some of them are quite long, so it's about like they release it 2 weeks beforehand, so you need to like have a good spread of time where you're like, okay, I'll start it on this day, aim to finish on this day, so you have that like good balance between work and like having a nice experience at uni as well.
Okay, next question. What are the chances of getting accepted if you don't have any extracurricular activities relating to the subject?
I think I can answer this. So I never thought I was going to do an engineering course in uni. Actually, in year 12 and year 13, I wanted to do biology. So a bit of background about me. I came from Malaysia. I moved here to London in 2019, and then did my A levels. I did my GCSEs and A levels here. But before that, in Malaysia, I was much more, biology, like not engineering, science related, like extracurricular activities wise. But what I could say is you just have to find some link from your extracurricular activities in your personal statement if you want to kind of link it with the subject for whatever reason. So there are a lot of resources out there that could help you find a bit of extracurricular activities, I guess. So say if you wanted to join biology or biomedical engineering, you could find online activities or like online platforms that help you gain experience. What I would say also is don't worry if you don't know anything beforehand, because university is a place to learn. So don't worry if you don't have a lot of extracurricular activities not relating to the subject, because they want to know what you've learned from those experiences, not what not what's related to the subject. It is important, but if you don't have anything, I think it's good now, if you're in year 12, to find find something to do for the summer. I would highly recommend checking out Springport. It's a good work experience platform that helped me find my love for engineering. So yeah, I didn't come from a biomedical engineering background because it is a very niche subject. But if you find something that you could link it to that subject, it doesn't have to be like a very clear link, but anything remotely linking to that subject could be good to you. So yeah, I think that's all.
Okay, next question. Are there any prospects of moving abroad with any of these degree pathways? And what careers are available abroad?
I'd say probably it is very possible to be able to move abroad. Like for example, in the second year summer, they wanted to look into internships, and a Japanese company reached out through like some of our professors, saying that they're interested in taking on some biochemists. So they probably also be like looking to take on some students as well after we graduate. And the jobs would probably be very similar to what you could probably do here, like research, data analysis, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I agree as
Okay,
well.
we've got
Okay. For the medical biosciences, there's an offer that comes out from Harvard University, where you have an opportunity to apply for a summer internship in one of the translational research labs in America. So that's one of the opportunities we have in the Department of Medicine.
Okay, we've got a question from the chat. What supercurriculars do you recommend for life science courses?
I'm not sure about the application times, but when I was in year 12, I applied to this program called Into Science, and it ran during the summer. My one only lasted like a week. And it was like a 1 week placement, and I was with a PhD student. And that was probably really good because I was seeing how research can be conducted and all that stuff. And they offer a lot of opportunities, and you become a part of the alumni, and they also have a lot of opportunities that they give afterwards, and they advertise a lot of jobs as well.
Okay. Will mitigating circumstances be considered, such as illnesses during GCSE leading to lower GCSE grades?
There's, I think
Imperial
on the
does
Imperial
offer.
website, you can go ahead.
Wait a second, Wajiha, your mic is on mute.
Sorry about that. They do offer contextual offers, and they would probably take into consideration whatever happened, and they can probably lower the grade boundaries for you. But that's probably something that you'd have to ask your teachers more about if you want more information, probably.
And on the website, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, for some courses, there's a mitigating circumstances section, and I think there's a form that you could fill out, and then I think they would decide whether they think you should get mitigating circumstances.
Okay, another question from the chat. Can you switch between different life science courses?
Um, sorry. Yeah, you are able to switch between life science courses. Like, well, I'm thinking in terms of like biology, ecology, microbiology. You're able to submit a form and just change between them. I think there's just a certain deadline, but I'm not too sure about from like across the courses mentioned today, if that's what you mean.
I guess just to add on to that, with biochem, you can either apply to biochem or biotech. And in first year, both biochem and biotech are the same thing. But then in second year, like Wajiha was saying, with our third term's optional module, if you pick the biotech optional module, you'll be converting from a biochem to biotech sort of degree. So it is still quite flexible in your first year.
Okay, what does studying at Imperial look like? And how much work are you expected to do?
I think studying Imperial is quite nice. I think Imperial offers quite good opportunities for its students. For example, in School of Medicine, there are people that you can go to. For example, if you're struggling financially, and and in general, like you have loads of societies that you can join as well, like outside of courses, outside of your coursework, as well. For the workload, I think at Imperial, well, with my course, it's quite hard to get a first in the sense that you would need to do they expect you to do a lot of like outside reading, um, apart from the module content that you cover in sessions to be able to get like a first in your assessments or in the exams. So like reading like research papers, journal articles, just anything that gives like extra information on the modules that you're doing. So I think you would require like a lot of extra work, but I don't think it's for my course, it's not hard to balance in a sense. Like if you're completing all your work on time, then you can just use any extra time you have to just like do extra reading on like topics in the course and things like that.
Okay. Do 4 A levels look better than 3 A levels, or is it better to do 3 and an EPQ? What kind of predicted grades do you need for an offer?
Oh, I guess it depends what you want to do and how how flexible you want to be. So if you do 4, for example, let's say you do 3 sciences plus the maths, you're able to basically do any course you want. But if you do 3 plus an EPQ and say you do all the 3 sciences, no maths, then you can't do the engineering course. So it depends on what you want ultimately. So there's no one better thing. It's just what you want. So yeah, look into your workload. I think for A levels is a lot of work. Even at uni, I still think when I did my A levels, I did 3, but still I think that was quite a lot of work. So yeah, weigh your positives and negatives. If you have 4, it just opens your horizons more, but doesn't look any much better than 3. If you have 3 of the required ones, then that's still good enough for you to go into any course you want at Imperial. So yeah.
Okay, next question. For each of you, what are your future plans after you finish from Imperial?
I'm still not 100% sure what career path I want to go into, but I don't think I'll be going to research. I am quite interested in like data analysis and consulting, so hopefully those opportunities will be available when I graduate.
I'll go next. It's quite short for me. I'm a I'm a scholar from Malaysia, so I have a company that's sponsoring me to come to the UK to study. So I basically have a job already, which is kind of sad, but it's finance, so it's in the finance industry. So honestly, if you do engineering, you can do whatever you want. I have a lot of friends that are also going to finance, and I have a lot that are going to research. So yeah, my plans are unfortunately concrete already. So I'm going to finance, but my other friends, it's flexible. You can do engineering, you can do finance, you can do consulting, whatever you want.
So I'm not exactly sure what I want to go into straight after, but there are with life science they had a careers event and they really do show you the wide the wide variety of paths you can go down after. So lots of people, especially in Imperial, they like pushing entrepreneurships, so startups and such. There's also research. You can go and do your masters. Yeah, there's a really good environmental technology masters that looks good. There's also lots of different fields. There's policy making, there's consulting. Everyone's just in consulting now. But yeah, not sure.
I'm also not sure yet, but I'm leaning towards industrial research, which with like pharmaceutical companies like this AstraZeneca, Pfizer, GSK, doing that or going to do a master's first and then applying for a job. I'm leaning towards a master's, either a master's in research or master's in like either public health or data science. But yeah, there's loads of options basically, and I'm just indecisive.
Okay, if that's all questions, we'll be finishing off here. Here is our Instagram page and our LinkedIn. If any of you would like to scan this and follow us. Jazakallah khair for all of our representatives for joining and for all of you guys also joining here. Oh, and one more thing. Next week's webinar should be our maths and our computing webinar, inshallah. So if any of you would like to join that, feel free to sign up.